Chair McLaughlin, we've reached a quorum and we're ready to start the meeting.
Thank you very much. Welcome everyone to the September 14th Etac meeting. And my name is Janelle McLaughlin and I am the chair of the Environmental Transportation Commission. Recording secretary, please start the meeting officially.
Thank you very much. It has started.
I'd like to call this special meeting of Etac for September 14th at, I believe it's 4:01. And I would like, who would like to say the Pledge of Allegiance? May I have a volunteer?
Oh, I can go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Wood. Recording secretary, can you call roll, please?
Commissioner Sandoval by law.
Present.
Commissioner Germain.
Present.
Commissioner Romero. Commissioner Romero. Oh, there she is. Okay. She needs to be unmuted. Commissioner Romero. Can you, are you able to speak? We can't hear you. I see you. Huh. Well, we'll get back to you. Just let's try and figure out what's going on. Commissioner Wood.
Present.
Chair McLaughlin.
Present.
Commissioner Navarro.
Hi, present.
Thank you. Let's go back to Commissioner Romero. Are you able to say something? If you're struggling with your audio, you can always call as well and then just type in the meeting ID. But it's probably because your Zoom isn't connected. You're not connecting your audio to Zoom. So if you go to where it shows to your mute feature and you click on the arrow facing up, it'll ask you where to select your microphone from. But if you can't connect your audio to Zoom, then you could always call the number listed on the city meetings page. Okay, we do have a quorum.
So then let's proceed. I'd like to ask the recording secretary if she could describe the way that the public can access this virtual meeting.
This meeting is being live streamed via the City of Santa Ana portal at www.santahana.primegov.com/public/portal. If you would like to provide a public comment, you may do so on the City of Santa Ana portal at the same location. The opportunity to speak is going to follow immediately after this comment. If you wish to speak, please select the Zoom hand icon to let us know when you'd like to speak. You will be called upon by name, by the name you entered. You will have 3 minutes to speak. We will alert you when your time is up. And I see that we have another commissioner joining. Commissioner Benninger, can you speak? Commissioner Benninger?
No, but I think he's offering us a tangerine.
Okay, well, we'll move on to
Okay,
to the
moving
rest.
on to the public comments and agenda items or non-agenda items. Yeah, Secretary, do we have anyone that is requesting to speak at this time?
Looking through the list, no, nobody is on the list that is requesting. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the consent calendar, item 1, 2, and 3. And if a commissioner would like to speak, if they would introduce themselves by name when they are speaking, that would be perfect. And at this time, do we have any excused absences?
There's no requests for excused absences.
Okay, so moving on, there is a motion to, is there a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar? May I have a commissioner make a motion, please?
Commissioner Germain here. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Is there any second to that, please?
Commissioner Wood, I'd like to make a second.
The consent item 1, 2, and 3 are now approved, and we have all the names. Lori, we're all good?
Can I ask who made that second, please?
Commissioner Wood.
Thank you.
Very good. We're moving on to the business calendar, and we're going into the nominations for the Etac. And I would like to say a couple things before we start those nominations in the process, is that I've been on Etac. I came on in August of 2015. And at that time, the city had turned off all the water at the medians. And although the state said we could allow the water to be on at the trees, the city had made the decision to turn off the water. And we were in a crisis of losing many trees because of no water. At that time in 2015, we were a report and file commission. And we only had one responsibility, and that was advisory on trees. In 2017, 15 and 16, there was an ad hoc committee put together by Etac to review our bylaws. In those bylaws, it was added that we were advisory to the Executive Director of Public Works, which therefore gave us more opportunity than just a report and file commission. In January 2017, we worked, and I'm going to say ad hoc committee as well, with William Galvez. And we presented to City Council 1.2 request for 700 trees for 3 years to be budgeted and taken care of due to what the drought had done, and as well as budgets. The city did not plant during drought time, as well as the trees that were lost during drought time, and had predominantly had a $50,000 fund set up that would not roll over at the end of each year if they did not use it for planting. So in this essence of why I'm doing this is that we are moving back into a report and file based on our bylaws at the time that Nabila is going to speak. So I think that overall consideration to those who run or would like to be nominated. When we did our last, the various nominations and report, is the peers nominate the chair. So I've been blessed, and thank you very much for those years. I will not be running again. I will not run for chair or vice chair. I will be happy to be involved in ad hoc. I think it's time that we have new and wonderful people to step up. In the past, instead of just a person nominating, and Carl will know this, is that we ask almost from nominations on the floor. Because with a floor nomination, we know who would like to run and why they think their qualifications. We did this in the past because we have new Etac members. Not everybody is known or has a history, and we feel very that it's an equal way that all of us can speak up if you want to take that position, and we know who you are. My notes here are given to me, and it said we'll be taking nominations for the election of chair. So may I ask anyone that would like to nominate another person, or if you like the idea of going around and saying, I would like to be considered for the chair, and give any reasons that you might want to be considered. Which way, do I do a vote on this, Nabil, that they can self-nominate? Because that's the way we've always done it.
Yeah, thank you, Janelle, Madam Chair. Thank you for your service as a chair of the Etac, and we really appreciate your effort and your participation in the Etac. It's been great to work with you, and I'd like to just recognize your effort in, like you mentioned, the trees and everything that Etac has done in the last few years. We really are appreciative of your efforts, and I personally loved working with you. From this
Are
point
you sure
forward,
I'm that thorn in your side? Are you sure you appreciate it?
I really did. I remember when we met in the street one time in Flora Park, and I got excited by meeting you, and you had a friend, and I don't know if you remember that time, but from that time, I really wanted to engage with you on making the city of Santa Ana better. So,
Thank you very much, sir.
Appreciative of all of what you've done. From this point forward, I would like to run the election, if you don't mind. Now, just to give an educational part of this, the election of the chair will take in 2 steps. We will open the nominations, and once the nomination is closed, and we will have to have a vote and a second to the nomination to close it. Once that's closed, then we go into the second step of the final election. So with that, we will be taking nominations for the election for the chair, because this election was delayed by 3 months. If a chair is elected, the position of the chair will become effective at the next Etac meeting and will serve as a chair through June 30 of 2022, at which time another election will take place in July 2022 for the entire year. All nominations are to be made from the floor. Nominations for the office of Etac chair is now in order. Now we are accepting nominations. Nomination will need to, again, to have a motion and a second. Can I ask for anyone who would like to nominate someone? Okay, don't fight over it.
Or, excuse me, this is Lori. You can nominate yourselves, as we discussed.
Yes.
This is Commissioner Wood, and I would like to make a motion to nominate Brian Germain for the position of chair.
So we have a nomination for Brian Germain.
And we would need a second.
Can there be multiple, can there be multiple nominations at this time?
Yeah, the nomination doesn't require a second, but it would be nice to have a second. If not, we can go to another nomination or another name if anyone would like.
I would like to nominate Nancy Sandoval, and she has been on Etac for approximately 3 years. She is not only a mother of 3, but active in her community, and she's got her law degree that she's finishing up. And since her experience has been over 3 years as an Etac member, I nominate Nancy.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, with that, I would
Hi there,
need
sorry,
a
this is Commissioner Navarro.
Yes, Navarro.
And I would also like to nominate Dorian. She's currently working on with Santa Ana Active Streets, and I do very much appreciate a lot of the comments that she's made in the meetings.
Thank you for that. Any more nominations? Okay, I would like to receive a motion to close the nomination. Anyone?
I make a motion to close the nominations.
I would
Janelle
like-
McLaughlin.
I would like to receive a second to close the nomination.
This is Commissioner Wood. I make a second to close the nominations.
Great, so we have Brian Germain, Nancy Sandoval, and Dorian Romero. So we'll take the first one first. Brian Germain, can we get a vote for Brian? Lori, can you go through the list?
We need a motion and a second.
And do you only vote once?
Yes. Yes.
It's not Chicago.
Okay, Brian Germain, do we have a motion?
I guess I'm confused. Commissioner Wood, I'm confused. I thought we've already made the motion to.
Yeah,
to
you know,
nominate.
I think
Did you get a second? Who was the second for Commissioner Wood?
This is Commissioner Germain, Brian Germain. I'll second Commissioner Wood.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Every vote requires a motion and a second.
okay. So let's go through the list.
Okay, so this motion made by Commissioner Wood and seconded by Brian Germain is to nominate Brian Germain as chair of the Etac. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the roll call. Nancy Sandoval Bailon.
Do you know what? I don't understand this. We've always been able to do it in person and privately. So what I'm hearing is that we don't put a motion for the 3 people and then vote for those. We're going to vote one at a time. My understanding is that you then put a motion in for Nancy to second it. You put a motion in for Dorian to second it. We have 3 candidates, and then we vote for our 3 candidates.
Oh, we can do that, I guess. We can accept motions and seconds for everything. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, you're treating it essentially like a substitute motion. So essentially, the original motion was for motion by Commissioner Wood to nominate Germain, and then Germain seconded. So we can go ahead and vote on that. Normally what happens is the one that got nominated last gets voted on first, and then you work your way back until you get to the original motion. So there was nobody who made a second for any one of the 3 nominations. There was only a motion created for each one of those 3 nominations. So
Do you want us to take Dorian Romero first? She was the last one to be nominated.
yeah, but we're also going to need a second for that. So, and you can second it yourself. There's nothing that precludes you from doing that.
Okay, so
Thank you,
let's do
Madam
that.
Clerk.
Let's do that. Let's do a Dorian Romero. Do I have a motion and a second?
Well, Commissioner Navarro made the motion. Can you repeat that motion, and then can I hear a second from somebody else?
Hi, yes. So this is Commissioner Navarro. I motion that Dorian Romero be the chair of the Etec Commission.
Is there a second?
Can you hear me now? This is Dorian.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I second that.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Do you want to go ahead and do the?
Go ahead and call the roll call.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the roll call for chair, and that's Dorian Romero for chair. So Nancy Sandoval Bailon, how do you vote?
No.
But doesn't Nancy get, because she was nominated, she goes in the nomination with Brian, Dorian, and now we do Nancy the same.
We're doing the last nomination first.
Correct,
like
which
you
was
would-
Dorian.
which is
Brian
Dorian.
was the first, and now we go to Nancy.
Yeah, so we're first gonna do Dorian, we're gonna vote on Dorian, and then we're gonna go back to Sandoval, see if we can get a motion and a second. And then we'll go back to Germain, which we already have a motion and a second.
Okay, so
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
So go ahead, Nancy Sandoval, she already voted no, I already got it.
Okay, and Carl Benninger, how do you vote for Dorian Romero for chair? Carl?
Looks like we lost Carl.
I think we lost Carl. Oh my goodness. Okay, Brian Germain, how do you vote for Dorian Romero for chair?
Commissioner Germain, no.
Tanya Navarro, how do you vote for Dorian Romero for chair?
I vote yes.
Gary Wood, how do you vote for Dorian Romero for chair?
Well, I want to go on record saying I'm really not pleased with how this is being conducted. I agree with Chair McLaughlin, but I would have to vote no. Thank you.
Dorian
You know,
Romero.
I still think, Madam City Clerk, why do we have 2 up there and not 3 up there?
You do have 3. You just need to do it one at a time. You can't.
Yeah,
vote
but
for
we
them all at
haven't,
the same
we
time.
haven't done a second motion on Nancy.
Well,
And so why can't we, my understanding is we've done it in the past. So
no,
if
yeah,
Nancy's up there.
absolutely. And that was something that got overlooked before, but you can definitely give a second at this time if you like. It doesn't matter. It's still, we're still
For
voting.
Nancy,
Right, for Nancy.
correct.
Does somebody want a second for Nancy?
I second that motion.
Okay,
This is Nancy.
okay. It
Okay,
still doesn't,
now-
it doesn't do anything to this vote, just to make that clear.
Okay, then may I ask, because it's like a slate of vote, don't you then, since you have all 3 of them as a slate, instead of going through, we get to vote for one of the 3 that are nominated? That's how we've done it in the past. Why are we doing it this way, may I ask?
It's because it got overlooked originally to give a second when you nominated somebody. The
Yes,
process
but
is
now
really-
we've given us,
Yeah.
now we've given a second. All 3 candidates have a second. All 3 candidates are on the slate. So is it not easy to vote for your candidate when you're asked, instead of going through no, 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 yes, yes, yes of each candidate?
No, because it's just like if you have a substitute motion, you don't vote for the original motion and then go to your substitute motion. You put out all of your motions and then you vote on the very last motion made. And then first, and if that fails, then you go to your next motion until you get to your original. That is the
Very good.
Robert's Rules of Order, not my rules.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, where we were voting for Dorian Romero for chair. So where we are is Dorian Romero was going to vote yes or no for herself. So is that a yes or no for Dorian Romero for chair? Dorian?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Going back to Janelle McLaughlin, do you vote yes or no for Dorian Romero for chair? Janelle McLaughlin?
My vote is no.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. And Carl does not seem to have been, he's gone entirely. So I don't know where he went.
So motion fails 4-2, and then 1 absent.
Okay, so 1 absent. We're going to count Carl as absent.
So motion fails with 2 commissioners, Navarro and Romero, voting yes, and Chair McLaughlin, Commissioner Bailon, and Germain, and Wood as voting no. Okay, so now we're going to go to the second nomination. Let's just go back to motion. New motion. And then just type in there. All right, I got it. Why don't you?
Second substitute. No. Just a moment, please.
Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and for the second motion for
Nancy Sandoval by law.
yes.
So it was moved by Chair McLaughlin to nominate Nancy Sandoval by loan for the office.
May I interrupt for a moment? I have Carl Benninger on my telephone. Can he vote?
Well, he was here.
I know he was here and he lost connection, and I have him on my speakerphone. Is there a way that he can participate in this voting? Because he signed into the meeting and he lost connection.
What's best for him to do is to go ahead and I don't know that we can hear him. Can you?
Carl, can you speak, please, sir?
Yes, I'm up in Anaheim at a voting center that I'm running for this election. And I'm outside right now, so I hope I can be heard clearly.
Okay. Yes. Is that okay?
Yeah, as long as, we could.
Yes, you are being heard clearly. We have,
Okay.
Lori, would you like to recap?
Okay. Are we going back to, I think we're going back to the.
No, that one's already closed. So now we're moving on to the second.
Okay.
So, Carl, there are 3 candidates that are for chair: Tanya, Germain, and Nancy Sandoval. And the vote went already for Tanya, and it's closed. So now we're going for what, Gary? You were going for Brian?
We're going to.
We're voting.
We're voting for Nancy Sandoval.
We're voting for Nancy Sandoval.
Carl, could you hear that? We're voting for Nancy Sandoval, and you need to say yes or no.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
No.
So the motion was, who motioned and who seconded?
Janelle McLaughlin moved to nominate Nancy Sandoval by loan, and it was seconded by Nancy Sandoval by loan. How
Okay.
do you vote?
We have Brian Germain and Nancy Sandoval as the 2 candidates that are open for a vote, Carl. So
Okay.
you either vote for Nancy or Brian Germain.
I vote for Brian.
Okay.
Well,
We're not there yet. We're voting
Okay, if we lose them. Okay.
We're voting for Nancy Sandoval by loan at this point.
So go ahead and call each commissioner.
Okay, Chair McLaughlin. Do
I
you-
vote yes.
Okay. Nancy Sandoval Bailon,
Yes.
Carl Benninger,
No.
Brian Germain,
No.
Tanya Navarro,
No.
Gary Wood, Commissioner Wood.
Would please unmute.
All right, excuse me, no.
Okay, and Dorian Romero.
I thought they've already voted.
Yes.
Go ahead, Romero. I'm sorry, we couldn't hear you.
Dorian Romero. We're voting for
Yes.
Nancy Sandoval Bailon for chair.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you vote yes or no
I
for
vote-
Nancy?
I vote yes. And also, Ms. McLaughlin, Tanya wasn't running for chair. You said
Oh, my
Tanya was
mistake.
running for chair.
Thank you very much. I am so very sorry. She was the one that nominated.
Motion fails with these saying no.
Okay. The motion for Nancy Sandoval Bailon failed
4-3.
4-3. We're going to move on. And the motion now is to nominate Brian Germain for chair of Etap. We're going to go ahead and start voting in a moment. Thank you for your patience. We're typing this in as we speak.
This is Commissioner Wood. May I be allowed to ask a question before we start the next vote?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Yes, so are we allowed to vote on each candidate multiple yeses or one yes and then we're locked out? Because you allowed multiple people to vote for Romero and then also Sandoval.
Yeah, there's nothing that precludes anybody from voting yes on the substitute motions.
Okay.
There's nothing that precludes them.
Just wanted to understand. Thank you.
This is Chair McLaughlin, and I have a question. Is in the Brown Act, how many, is there a condition that one person has talked to more than 3 people or more than 2 people in the Brown Act regarding this?
Yeah, it's up to 3. And it's
Okay.
and it's the Robert's Rules of Order. It's just a way of keeping a meeting in order.
Okay.
Okay, so now.
Do you have any other questions, Janelle? That's it?
I did speak to Brian regarding his running for a position, so I'd like to make that clear ahead of the meeting. I think that's what's required.
Okay. So we have a nomination now. We're voting for Brian Germain for chair of Etac. So we're going to go ahead and vote. Janelle McLaughlin,
No.
Nancy Sandoval Bailon. Nancy Sandoval Bailon,
No.
Carl Benninger,
Yes.
Brian Germain,
Yes.
Tanya Navarro,
No.
Gary Wood,
Yes,
Dorian Romero.
No.
Okay, motion fails.
The motion
4-3.
failed. 4-3.
Okay.
So
So
now
we don't have
you,
it there.
yeah, so now you could either try to see if you can nominate someone else, and if anybody wants to, go back to their.
this is Commissioner Wood. Could you recap the vote on Commissioner Sandoval? Because I might have lost track.
Just a moment.
For Sandoval.
for Nancy Sandoval by loan.
So that was motioned by Chair McLaughlin and seconded by Sandoval by loan. And I have Benninger, Germain, Navarro, and Wood voting no. And I have just Romero voting yes.
Thank you.
So Nabil, you said that the next meeting is in person. Is there any validity to moving this to the next meeting, or what do you suggest that we do at this time?
Well, I would like to get a chair here because otherwise I won't be able to go forward with the agenda. I need to, at least get a chair and a vice chair to get us going and be a feasible commission. If I don't have a chair, then the commission will not be a commission without a chair. So you guys need to think it through and make this happen. If you want to change your votes, I would, right now, I would call for a nomination again and vote on it one more time. We can go through it one more time. Can I ask for a nomination? It doesn't have to be the same, or it can be the same of those individuals. If you want to change your mind or reconsider your vote for any of those three listed candidates for a chair, I would entertain that. We can vote again on it.
This is Chair McLaughlin. I nominate myself, if that could be something, and then we could transition to another election or something in person, because this is definitely not working as we're doing it now, sir.
Give me 1 second.
I would second that nomination.
Carl has seconded the nomination of Chair McLaughlin.
Just a moment, please.
This is Commissioner Romero. I think it would help to have a short bio of all the commissioners to help with the voting if we were to do it in person.
Okay, so what do we have on the floor right now?
And thank you for the comment. What we have on the floor right now is a motion by Chair McLaughlin and seconded by Commissioner Benninger to nominate Chair McLaughlin, Janelle McLaughlin for chair. That's hard to say. So we're going to arrange for another vote in a moment. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and vote now.
Excuse me, are we not accepting other nominations?
We would accept, we would have to open the nominations again and accept nominations one more time, and then we have to vote to close the nomination. So we'll have to redo the entire process again.
So right now, Nabil, who are we voting on now? Just one person, or?
Right now, Chair McLaughlin has nominated herself, and that was seconded by Benninger. Nomination right now is open again, and if there's any more nominations, we're open to receive more nominations.
And this is, we're starting over, right? The other three nominations are no longer valid.
Right.
Right, then in that case, this is Commissioner Wood, and I'd like to make a motion to nominate Nancy Sandoval for the position of chair.
Don't we have to finish this vote?
Do we have a second?
Do we have a second to, for Commissioner Wood's amended motion?
And this is for
This is Commissioner Romero. I second that.
Just a moment.
Okay.
Just a moment, please. We need to catch up here.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay.
So can we have a motion to close the nomination?
Can we do that now? Or isn't there a vote on the floor?
This is Chair McLaughlin. I would like to remove my name as a nomination for that position and
Okay.
support Nancy Sandoval.
Okay.
Okay, can we have a motion to close the nomination again?
I make a motion to close the nomination, Chair McLaughlin.
Can I have a second?
I second that motion.
I second that.
Was that Nancy Sandoval that spoke first?
It was.
Okay.
Okay, let's
There's
take
a
vote.
motion. There's a motion to close the nominations made by Chair McLaughlin, seconded by Nancy Sandoval. And we're going to vote on that.
And change the N. Select the S.
So in clarification, there's only one nomination, and that's Nancy Sandoval, because Chair McLaughlin pulled my nomination.
That's correct.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So we're going to go ahead and vote for Nancy Sandoval Bailon for Chair of Etac. How do you vote, Chair McLaughlin?
Sorry, this is
For
Commissioner
Nancy
Germain.
Sandoval.
So
I'm sorry, I
It-
thought you said Chair McLaughlin.
At this
No.
moment, isn't it a
It's
white ballot?
McLaughlin. Just a minute.
McLaughlin.
I vote for Nancy Sandoval for Chair of Etac.
And Nancy
Janelle
Sandoval.
McLaughlin.
How do you
Yes.
vote, Nancy
Brian?
Sandoval?
So Brian,
Lori, this is Pedro. Commissioner Germain had a question before the vote.
Yeah, at this moment, if it's Bailon, that's the only nomination for a chair, it becomes it's a white ballot. There's no one running against, so there's no vote.
Correct, sir.
But we still need to take a vote. It's still, there's still a motion and a second, and we still need to take a vote.
Yeah, we still need to take a vote. Sorry. So again, for the position of chair, and we're looking at Nancy Sandoval Bailon for, so we have a yes vote from Janelle McLaughlin. Nancy Sandoval Bailon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Carl Benninger, how do you vote? Is he still on the line?
He is, I had to turn it on. Carl, say it again.
Yes.
Brian Germain,
Yes.
Tanya Navarro,
Yes.
Gary Wood,
Yes.
Dorian Romero.
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. Nancy Sandoval Bailon will be serving as the Etac chair
thank you.
from the next meeting through June 30th of 2022. And then we'll have another election in July of 2022. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on.
So that brings us to item number 5, which is the Etac nomination and the election of the vice chair. We will be taking nominations for the election of the vice chair. Because this election was delayed 3 months, this position will become effective at the next Etac meeting and will serve as a vice chair through June 30th, 2022, at which time another election will take place in July 2022 for the entire year. All nominations are to be made from the floor. Nominations for the office of Etac vice chair are now open in order. We are now accepting nominations from the floor.
This is
This
Commissioner.
is Chair McLaughlin, and I nominate Gary Wood for vice chair.
Do I get a second?
I will second that nomination.
Was that Carl Benninger?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, there's a motion by Janelle McLaughlin to nominate Gary Wood for vice chair of Etac. There's a second from Carl Benninger. We're going to vote on that.
Wait, any more nominations?
Oh, I'm sorry.
This
Are
is,
there more nominations?
this is Commissioner Wood, and I would like to nominate Brian Germain for vice chair. I appreciate the nomination by Chairwoman McLaughlin, but I'd like to respectfully decline that.
Is
So
Commissioner
we
Germain, second that motion.
Second. So now we have only one candidate, which is for the vice chair to be Brian Germain. Is that correct? Any more nominations? Okay, can we get a motion and a second to close the nominations?
I make a motion, this is Commissioner Wood, to close the nominations.
I get a
Commissioner Brian
second.
Jermaine, second.
Okay, now that takes us to voting on the vice chair for candidate Germain.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and vote. Janelle McLaughlin. Janelle McLaughlin. You're muted.
Oh, sorry, yes, please. I have Carl too, so can you do Carl while we're open?
Carl Benninger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Nancy Sandoval Bailon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Brian Germain,
Yes.
Tanya Navarro,
Yes.
Gary Wood,
I vote yes.
Dorian Romero.
Yes.
Great.
The motion
Great.
passed.
Congratulations on the chair and the vice chair. We're really excited to work with you, and congratulations again. That takes us to moving on to item number 6, the Urban Forest Management Plan, and would be presented to us by Arturo Rodriguez, the Assistant Public Works Maintenance Manager. Arturo, please.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you. Lori, if I could get your assistance with the presentation. I don't have the share screen button on my. It's not. Let's see. Let's see here. Lori, do you have the presentation up by any chance?
Arturo, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay, let me see here. Here we go. One second here.
I do, it's right here.
One moment. Okay. All right, how's that? Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, again, Etac commissioners, city staff. As Nabil mentioned, my name is Arturo Rodriguez. I'm the Assistant Public Works Maintenance Manager here in the Public Works Maintenance Division. The item that we're going to present is an update on the City Forest Renewal Project and the Urban Forest Management Plan. Just a quick update, kind of a summary of how we got here and what the City Forest Renewal Project is. In short, it provides funding for the removal of trees that have met their life expectancy and that are in decline. The project is funded by Prop 68 and administered through the CAL FIRE's Urban and Community Forestry Grant Program. The actual recipients of the grant funds is the California Urban Forest Council, and they work closely with their partner, West Coast Arborists, who is the project contractor, actually performing the work of the removal of the trees. City partners are selected are selected based on their urban
Sorry,
forestry.
Arturo, could you speak a little louder, please?
See, how's that?
Could you
Better?
speak a little louder?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's a little better.
Hold on, let me see.
It is a very low mumble reading.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
He sounds fine on my end. Maybe the volume on the recipients on their side could be increased.
Good idea. Thank you, sir.
Okay, try it again. Sorry about that.
Again, in short, the program is funded through Prop 68, administered through CAL FIRE's Urban and Community Forestry Program. The grant recipient who actually receives the funds is the California Urban Forest Council. City partners are selected based on their forestry urban needs and their disadvantaged community status. The city of Santa Ana meets those requirements easily. As you know, we are a Tree City recipient for 22 consecutive years. This whole project got kickstarted back in January of 2020 when the city entered into the MOU agreement with the California Urban Forestry Council. The grant deliverables, what comes out of this grant, right? So the removals is the big thing here. The funding allows from anywhere from 100 to 150 tree removals based on the average DBH, or what's called the diameter at base height of 22 inches. Again, in order for trees to meet that criteria, again, it's trees that have met the end of their life expectancy cycle or in decline, either show signs of pests, insects, effects of the drought from a couple years ago, or the drought that we're still in, and or site conditions. Now, with the removal of those trees, the commitment by the partner cities, or the commitment by us as well, is that for every tree removed, we are required to replant at a 2-to-1 ratio. Okay. Now, the city is responsible for the purchase, planting, and the eventual maintenance of these trees long term. Okay. The grant deadline is the deadline for the planting of these trees is October of this year. I am proud to announce that the city has already met this deadline about 2 months ahead of schedule. That's all just a big effort on behalf of our staff working overtime and weekends, and even with the delays of the COVID-19 that we're all aware. The way the replanting worked back in, again, early 2020, there was a point in time count of all the citywide vacancies, right? Based on that number of vacancies, they were all distributed evenly amongst the six cities, amongst the 6 council wards, and plantings took place in all 68 of the city neighborhoods. We did outreach once a vacancy location was identified. There was a door hanger left at the property notice. A notice at the property advising the owner of our intent to plant a tree, whether we needed buy-in from them to make sure that they were going to be partners with us in watering the tree to ensure its survival. After that was done, each tree planted is based on, again, the designated tree species for that block. That picture that you see there, that was, I think, a planting that we did just a couple of weeks ago up on the 2100 North Block of Eastwood. Point on. This is a quick snapshot. This slide was presented back in March. I believe it was the first Etac meeting that we had this year. So it identifies all of the eligible locations per council ward that we had. And proud to say again that all of those were planted in those, again, all of the 67 council wards. Moving on here. The other component or deliverable of this city forest renewal project is the document known as the Urban Forest Management Plan. So what is that? It's basically, it's a set of guidelines. It consolidates all of our practices and guidelines. it identifies areas that could be updated to industry standards. Again, based on, depending on funding, correct? The ultimate goal here is it's a document that allows us or strengthens our position as a city whenever we go out to seek funds or grants, that shows that we have a document that backs up our tree policies, correct? So in a nutshell, it will help us obtain ongoing funding to better improve or enhance the tree services program. Again, it summarizes, it's one document now that summarizes current city practices, guidelines into a single document. It's recommended approaches based on the urban forest health, again, funding dependent. There was a link of the draft version that was posted on the agenda. We kindly are requesting feedback from you, from all the commissioners. Just take a look at it. Send us any notes, comments, feedback you have on that. The management plan itself, it's broken up into 9 different sections, ranging from your standard definitions. It defines common terms in related to tree services. Goes into routine tree maintenance. It has our approved tree palette in there. It makes reference to our city tree ordinance that governs what allows for the removal of trees in certain situations. Then there is also an education and community outreach portion, which basically it helps us to raise awareness amongst the residents of the importance of renewing the urban forest. We make the commitment to producing educational materials whenever we have the Tree City USA events. We participate in the events held at the library. For example, I believe a couple months ago, the library, the main city library, had their open house event where we provided up to 150 tree saplings for giveaway. So events like that. And as I mentioned, we are requesting your feedback, comments on the document. If you can please return them, send them our way. We would like to present this item for the second meeting in October as a receive and file item with the city council. So that's pretty much it on my end. Any questions?
Yes, sir. This is Chair McLaughlin. My understanding is that there was 4 trees allotted to each of the neighborhoods, approximately.
Let me jump in here, Arturo.
Yeah.
So this is Pedro again from the Maintenance Services Division. So back in in March, as mentioned, that slide held a variety of trees numbers based on the neighborhood. So that was based, if you don't mind, Arturo, go back a bit. It was based on the buy-in that Arturo mentioned. So these are areas that the residents said, yes, we will help maintain this tree. So as you can see, there were a little bit higher in some areas than others, and that's because of that very fact that we needed to get a buy-in. We wanted to make sure that these trees survived. So some areas got, for example, the first one was 8, the next one was 1. So that wasn't because due to lack of trying. So we did communicate this information well over this total number. So it was a very robust outreach effort, and this is what we ended up with. So it was very successful, very labor intensive, and so we were very happy with the outcome and the project itself.
So Pedro, I'm speaking as Desi Reyes, emeritus to the Etac, had contacted everyone for his Saddleback View neighborhood. And I think there was a request for like 6 trees. And he said the trees that were decided were 4th Street, which was a main street, and there were no interior trees done in his neighborhood. And he was told when he went back and asked for more trees for the interior of his neighborhood, that there was a limit, that there was only 4 trees per neighborhood. So that was the information, because he had written a note to Nabil, I believe, and he made 2 phone calls through to Lori requesting trees for his neighborhood, or contacted through Arturo.
So, you know, it's important that we communicate accurate information. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to respond to that. So as I mentioned, we need private property ownership to buy into the care of the trees. So the trees that were identified in this neighborhood weren't the only properties that were communicated or offered a tree. So the people who didn't want a tree didn't get one. We were successful in planting 4. Mr. Reyes' request is not forgotten. We have it on the to-do list for the next planting project.
Perfect.
So we will get in there and work from there.
Sir, if you know Mr. Reyes, he called me before this meeting.
I do know him, yes, very well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Any more questions for Arturo or Pedro?
So this is a different grant than the City Forest Renewal Memorandum of Understanding that was put in on January 21st, 2020. This is a different grant.
It's a component of it.
It's a component of it. It's one and the same. It's a component, because the document that we entered, it was the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding. A component of that is this grant for the tree removals. With our
so the grant was the grant was the January 21st, 2020, and I thought it was a 3-year period. So this component is still open. It's not closed for the October timeline.
No, the grant as Arturo mentioned in the presentation, the grant had several components. One of the components was this urban forest management plan. The other component was the tree planting and tree removal component. So we've completed basically with this document the entire grant well before the deadline that we were required to complete this grant. So we're ahead of schedule. So this is a success. This is a success partly to Etac and partly to staff that worked very hard.
Thank you, sir. I understand now.
This is Commissioner Wood. Just a quick question. In the 67 neighborhoods, first 2 questions. Does that cover every inch, if you will, of Santa Ana? And secondly, is there a map that shows just the broad outlines of those neighborhoods?
Yeah, I can answer that, Arturo. Correct. The city is composed of, I think it's 67 organized neighborhoods. So that is citywide and covers every square inch of the city, basically. In addition to this, we also planted on some arterials and things of that nature that tree, where we have vacant sites due to a car taking one out, things of that nature. So this is citywide. And the actual, to answer the question, yes, these neighborhood maps are on the city's webpage, and we can provide that to the commissioners through an email, so you can see where basically the layout of all the neighborhoods are. We can definitely do that.
If you don't mind, I believe I've seen it once before, and I just can't locate it again. So I'd like to have that. Thank you. Yeah,
we will mail it to you for sure.
This is Commissioner McLaughlin. Could we request that, since the urban forest document is 26 pages, perhaps people don't have those kinds of printers at home at this time, could you include that in the mail? And I also like to thank you for mailing the species book to us ahead of this meeting. That was very nice. Thank you.
Will do. We will.
Commissioner Bailon here. The file of the documents available online, though, is that correct?
Not at this time.
It's attached to the agenda.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Art.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's still in a final draft form. We were going to give you an opportunity for feedback before we, publish it on the city, on the tree services section.
This is Commissioner McLaughlin again. In regards to the urban forestry plan document you referred to, section 1, page 3, B and G notes that there is a community forestry participation. Is that a different committee? Because in the same section 1, page 3B, and then number G has the Environmental Transportation Commission. So it states community forestry, a branch of forestry whereby local community plays a significant role in forest management and land decisions making, typically in the urban forest. I'd like a definition between B and G, or how that is worded there.
So Arturo, I'm going to jump in. So as part of the comments that are being requested, we would like exactly comments like that to be put into this document. So if you want a clarification or definition of that, we could provide that, and we would do that through the comments that the commission provides.
Okay. Then also in section 8D on page 19, the Tree USA. I think there were many commissioners before that asked about that, and I want to point that out because it defines what the Tree USA, that the city has been for 22 years, and that the fact that that's quite a record and commendable to our city for 22 years.
Absolutely. Just adding to what the chairperson mentioned, the city has been very supportive as a council, as this body, in supporting and maintaining this. It's a pretty prestigious distinction, and we will try to continue this long term, obviously funding dependent. As always, one of the big components is to maintain our trees. So we're always asking for additional funding sources or looking for grants, as was described by Arturo in the presentation. So it's very important that we maintain this for our neighborhood pride, and for many reasons.
Chair McLaughlin, again on section 7, I'd like to commend the city had all the Latin names of the trees, and Etac asked them to put the common names and add drop tolerant. And I was very pleased to see in section 7 that those two things were done, and it put a great smile of a job well done on my face. And I'd like to also section 3, page 7, number 3, the talking of public property and trees on public property versus private property. Commissioner Germain had a question at a time, what is from the street to the sidewalk? And I was explaining that is public property owned by the city, and that tree was owned by the city, and that area was owned by the city. It was not owned by the property owner, and that was watered by the property owner. But it was not an area for statues and fountains and other plantings, because that belonged to the city. Could you clarify that? Because I didn't do a very good job of clarifying it, and I saw it on page 8, section 3, item 3.
You did a great job. So essentially, the only body that can plant a tree or install any device, whether it's a sign, a tree, a guardrail, in or on the city's right of way is the city. Correct, or plant. So anything that obstructs visibility is obviously a concern. So we don't allow hedges, for example, to be built on the corners, things of that nature. We do notify property owners who may unwittingly plant a tree in a right of way. We contact them and we ask them to kindly remove it and go from there, obviously. So, but yes, the ownership is responsible for the lot. The lot runs to the curb face. The property is behind the sidewalk, the private property. So basically, they are responsible from the back of the property all the way to the curb face of the street to maintain. That means watering. If they want to have grass there, they can have grass, as obviously the majority of the city has, and they are responsible to maintain that. But we are the only ones that can introduce a traffic safety device, traffic safety device, a tree, things of that nature.
I would like to also go back to Commissioner Germain's question that is answered in here. Is in that section 3, Commissioner Germain had asked about boar beetles and how you take management strategy for pesticides and prevention. And so that is in section 3. And I think due to time, if you want to address that, if we are aggressively have a program, because he did bring those up.
I can address that. Following the comments last month, we actually went out there and surveyed our oak trees. And we did a random sampling of over 100 trees looking for this beetle. We are aware of it, and it's typically on the south part of the state. We did not find any evidence whatsoever of any beetle on any of our oak trees. And I think we surveyed about 10% randomly citywide. So if we would have, if we experienced that, we would have caught one. And there is no evidence that it has reached Santa Ana at this point. Good thing is that when we perform our trimming practices or service calls, we inspect the tree generally, not only for whatever the call is. So we would undertake an inspection and elevate it if we do find something wrong with the tree. In this case, we not only took an arborist to do this, a certified risk assessor went out there, and that's on staff, and they went out there and looked at all these trees. And we were happy to not find anything, obviously. We did talk to industry professionals about it, and they confirmed that basically they're aware of it, and it hasn't reached pretty much this central area that we're aware of. But so we're happy about it. We're monitoring it. And another thing is it's a new, it's the gold spotted boar beetle, and it's new to the industry. So there really isn't a kill all kind of method to it. So it's something that's recently come up. So the industry is obviously aware of it, and we're working closely with them to develop any type of, work with them to implement any type of mitigation strategy if it does come to our city, along with the other neighboring cities as well. But we were happy to find nothing. So, and like I said, we did do about 10% survey of our 1,200 trees. So, you know, we're pretty happy with the results of that.
Is there any other kind of beetle? Because it was my understanding that there was an aggressive beetle in the Brea area, and I don't know one beetle from another, sir. Do we have another beetle problem?
We're not aware of any major problems besides the normal issues we may have with beetle here, beetle there, but nothing that's going to cause a major issue at this time. We're always monitoring for these things, and we are not aware of anything that is of imminent danger to our urban forest.
Are there any more questions regarding this presentation?
This is Commissioner Romero, yes. When will you publish this? You were asking for our feedback. I just want to know when you need our feedback by.
Well, as mentioned, since we want to present this as a receive and file with City Council for the October 19th meeting, we were hoping to get your feedback by this Friday, so we can meet our clerk of the council deadlines and our internal deadlines in order to finalize the staff report, then finalize this item. But in terms of being public, it probably won't be until we take it to council, which would be October the 19th.
Thank you. And I'll look through it. I saw it in the agenda, and I'm not sure if any of the trees are planted by bus stops, but I think that is a good idea because a lot of bus stops don't have shade, and it could be very hot in the summer. So trees by bus stops could be a good, easy solution for shade.
Thank you. This is Chair McLaughlin. We have a new, Nabil or Lori or whoever we need to address. We have a new commission here. when an item comes to us as a receive and file, that really means we could ask them to plant 100 trees around one bus stop, but we don't have any power because it's a receive and file. It is not of advisory to them being public works. We no longer have the ability to advise public works. So those kind of recommendations, this is already finished. And so they're presenting a finished product to us, very much like the trash contract. It was finished. Like the Santa Ana block beautification contest. We were not advised or asked anywhere during the preparation of this. It's finished. It's a receive and file. So I just want to, as a historian to this, is that when I was explaining before, is that in 2015, we were a commission of receive and file. In 2017, we became a commission of advisory to the Public Works Director. And we are now back as a receive and file. So that clarification. Also, Lori sent this ahead of time, and we were all supposed to take a look at this, and she highlighted that in what she sent out, that there was the document that was enclosed, the Urban Forestry Management Plan, and she actually asked everybody to review that to bring anything to this meeting. So as new folks and new commissioners, it's very wise to look at those details, to do homework when you come to the commission, because this is supposed to be an hour meeting, and we've been running over to 2.5 hours offering advisory information that's already past the limit of being advised. So that's a realistic position going forward. And exactly now, since the elections took so long, and it's 5:18, and we started at 3:30, Mr. Benninger had to leave. Nabil, is there any way that we can remove the other items to the next agenda instead of being a 2-hour meeting?
Yeah, thank you, Janelle McLaughlin, on this. I would like to go through the bylaws because of the benefit of our newly elected chair and vice chair. I really wanted to go through this. I know it's long, but it's something that we need to do, and to bring them up to speed, and at least get the entire commitment understanding what we're trying to do here. With that, we'd like to move to item 7, which is an update from our city engineer on the tree oversight by Etac, which it's already been discussed in detail in the previous item, but I'll hand it over to William.
Thank you, Director Sala. My name is William Galvez, City Engineer, Deputy Public Works Director. I will make this very short because there is an overlap with information that's already been provided. But the reason why this was placed on the agenda was because in July we received a letter from a concerned citizen about trees being cut on Santa Clara at the T intersection of Ridgewood, right adjacent to the Santa Ana Cemetery. So we looked into the matter, and as it turned out, those were trees that were felled, that were taken out without a permit per se by Public Works. In analyzing and looking into the matter, as it turned out, these trees are located on private property. And so I thought that it would be a good idea for us to have a very quick discussion as to what trees are being handled by the Environmental Transportation and Advisory Commission. And just to clarify, I can go through what the letter says. We responded to the letter, and we can go through that. But just to clarify, the trees that Etac deals with are trees in the public right-of-way. Pedro already clarified what the public right-of-way is, which is basically all of the roadway and right-of-way for public use. So trees in parks are not do not fall under Etac. Even though a park, it's private property owned by the city, so it's for public use, but those trees are not in the public right of way. They're for public use, but they're on private property. So trees in parks are not under Etac. The trees that essentially fall under Etac are trees in medians and trees in parkways. The parkway is that grass or landscape strip right next to and adjacent to typically the sidewalk. So those are the trees that fall under the purview of Etac. Many times you will see staff bring a receive and file like Commissioner McLaughlin mentioned. It'll be a receive and file about a tree that maybe we are recommending for removal or not. But also there is an opportunity sometimes when we will come to Etac for advice on policy making so that we can figure out in general how to protect trees in the public right of way. So moving forward, as these issues come up, I'd be more than happy to coordinate, collaborate with Pedro so that we can make some presentations on how Etac can be advisory to the council and how we can collaboratively work together to develop policies to foster the urban forest. So at this point in time, unless there's any detailed questions, again, the trees that fall under Etac are in general, with very few exceptions, in medians and in parkways. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions?
Do our commissioners have any questions? Thank you very much, William.
Well, thank you. With that, we will be moving to item number 6, which is the bylaws, and I will be making that presentation. If I need, let's see, Lori, can I have access?
Everyone, you should have access, Nabil. Did you try sharing the screen?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Well, for some reason, I don't see my presentation.
That may be, but you should be able to share it. So it might be because you need to open up your presentation first.
It is open, and the share is not. I cannot click on share. No.
Mm.
I don't see it.
Oh, go to window.
Oh, here you go. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Do you know now?
I got it. I better, right?
No, it's okay. You're good.
Okay, can you guys see it? Okay, Etac bylaws. What is the concern? Can you guys see it? Can I have someone say yes or no?
Yes.
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 Okay. So what is the concern? The bylaws do not match the ordinance in the following areas. As we speak.
You need to click next.
Sorry?
Sorry, you need to click next for us to see the next screen that you're referring to.
So the bylaws do not match the ordinance in three main items: the section reference or the proper numbering, the name. We are a commission, we're not a committee anymore, and the commission as an advisory to the city council only. So we need to make sure that the bylaws match the ordinance.
Sorry to interrupt, Nabil. I still have a frozen screen. I'm looking at the Etac bylaws, but it looks like page 3 is what you're going over.
Commissioner Sandoval was explaining that to you, Nabil.
You need to
There
start the
we go.
slideshow, perhaps?
Let me stop sharing. Stop sharing. Okay,
Yeah, it's up there as a power.
window. This one,
Yeah, it's up
share. Zoom is sharing window. And then
Respectfully, it's almost 5:30, Nabil. Is there any way we can move this to the next meeting and start with this?
Madam Chair, I really need to go through this. So if you
Very
just,
good, sir.
I'll make it quick. So the other item that it needs to, that is of a concern for us.
Did you do this?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, is that what you're saying?
Other changes are needed in regarding to absences, quorum, bylaws amendment, affirmative vote, and processing of motions. The third item is the bylaws need to reflect the newly approved meeting time, like the one that we voted on.
Okay.
The order of authority in the city, as you know, the city is a charter city. The charter is the dominant.
Can we go to the, sir, can we go to the next slide, please? We only have what is the concern on our screen.
What is this? Do you see any, is any change?
Now you're not sharing. You need to share and then you need to click start slideshow at the top. So that as you're speaking, you can just hit the arrow next. So at the top, you see slideshow. You see your entire PowerPoint screen.
Okay, so that's better than not seeing it.
Okay.
But what if I play it here? What do you see?
I think now we're seeing the slide you're referring to.
Okay, so the order of authority in the city, we are a charter city. The charter is the ruling, basically rules of operation for the city, followed by an ordinances, followed by the municipal code, and then followed by the bylaws. So the bylaws are, all they need to match, and that's my point here in the slide. Etac ordinance brief history in the resolution number 91, 112 in 1991 established Etac as an advisory committee to the city council. Ordinance NS 2414 added the tree planting to the Etac duties. Ordinance 2910 back in January 2017 in its first read it modified section 33.
Is there any way, excuse me, Nabil, is there any way that we can see what you're speaking of? We have a frozen screen at order of authority, slide number 3. Can we move along at the?
Maybe just go back to the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Just go, forget about the slides.
Okay. What am I going to?
Can you see it there?
Can they see this one?
Yes, this is
okay.
Slide 4.
If you can see this one, then it's good enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so ordinance 2910, the first read, and that was in a transition, as you can see, January 2017. The first read for that ordinance was in December 2016. The first read modified both the municipal code and the bylaws to allow for the Etac to be an advisory to the city council and the executive director. However, in the second read, the same section was modified, and the advisory to the executive director was removed from the municipal code, but kept in the bylaws in error. And we need to fix that because, like I mentioned, under the authority, the bylaws need to follow the municipal code. So the municipal code right now, and that's the key here, is allows for Etac to be advisory only to the city council. However, in the second read, it did not remove it from the bylaws. And that's why we need to update our bylaws. Again, just recently in January 2020, through the charter modernization. Those two sections were repealed, and they were moved into sections 2554 and 255 under the new resolution NS 2992. The new sections did the following: renamed the committee to a commission, which was great, and limited the term of the chamber's members to 4 years. In addition, it kept the advisory commission, it kept Etac as an advisory commission to the council. Again, that affirms the duty of the Etac, but again, like I mentioned, the bylaws do not match that. The bylaws, it needs to be updated. The bylaws need to be updated in for the following reasons: the change of the regular meeting time, which we all voted on, and we agreed that would be 4 o'clock on a second Tuesday of the month. That needs to be changed in the bylaws. We need to correct the references in the sections from 33184, 33185 to 2554 and 2555. We need to change the committee name to a commission. We need to update the language and to make Etac bylaws consistent with other commissions, some cleanup language there. In the same time, we need to remove an advisory role to the executive director, which makes it consistent with the municipal code. I just want to click on this link here, see if it works, and I can't because it's not in play mode. So Etac duties, and I did speak with our city manager just recently, and she has directed me to go over the Etac duties as they appear in the municipal code under section 2555. The first set
Lori, you have an open mic, Lori.
The first 3 duties or lists of the duties relate to the urban forest. Etac is an advisory capacity to the city council on trees in the public right-of-way. You would assist in the dissemination of news and information about trees. And as far as urban forest, you can conduct investigation, make findings, and report to the city council if they request. Now, the second set of duties is here. So there's 2 others, and Etac is an advisory to the city council on master planning, transportation, streetscape, water and sewer, and Etac can provide general input on the following: circulation element, bicycle and pedestrian safety, complete streets, surface transportation, street environment, streetscapes, and right-of-way aesthetics. Now, all this is in the municipal code. I am not bringing anything outside or adding or taking anything out.
So this is Commissioner McLaughlin. Nabil, all of those things also have the general input. Every resident in Santa Ana has the right for general input when you go out to the community and meet with the community, is my understanding. So each one of those items are not isolated to Etac, but every single resident has that right, correct?
I believe so. I receive emails and calls every day on these things.
But like when you go out to the public and you have your boards and you have the right of way and all of the information, the general plan and elements, every resident has the right to do number 4 and number 5, and that is part of your community outreach, correct? It's
correct.
not just Etac.
No, it is also Etac. William will add to that too. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the reasons why Etac is so valuable and important is because sometimes, even though we want to get or receive general input, we would approach Etac before and after public input so that we can get Etac's recommendations as to how to get a public input. Many times, as you know, Public Works may seek the public input, but we do a shortcut method. Maybe we will just contact residents via email or mailers, or like, for example, before a construction project, we would just have our contractors put door hangers up. But in contacting Etac, you've given us advice on how to better inform the public. So you help us form policies so that not only can we comply with the public contracts code and our green book and our contracts, but we do a much better job at contacting the public today. So although you're providing us with general input, I think that the input is a lot more focused, and we also intend to communicate with Etac on an ongoing basis for updates in the bicycle and pedestrian safety, or updates on the complete streets plans, which don't necessarily require public input, but we would like to bounce those ideas and updates off of Etac. And many times Etac would tell us, no, you need to, we recommend, or we should go back out to the public and have maybe more specific meetings. And so Etac becomes very valuable for that purpose.
Thank you.
And the next step is, in accordance to Section 10 of the bylaws, we will provide you a 7-day written notice of the proposed changes to the commissioners. That's what we'll do. Etac will vote in the next, I'm hoping that next meeting in October, we vote on the proposed changes of the bylaws. And at a later time, we will take those as a resolution to amend the bylaws to our city council. And with that, I'm open for any questions.
Commissioner Bailon, just to clarify, we hadn't then presented the meeting time to the city council already?
No, we attempted to, but we haven't been able to take our bylaws to the city council yet.
Okay.
I mean, the change of the bylaws, we haven't. That's why you see us canceling a meeting and adjourning and scheduling another meeting, because the official day, the official time of our meeting is 7:30, I believe, in the morning of Tuesdays, and now we're meeting on at 4 o'clock. So officially, we have to cancel one meeting and announce another.
I'll take her.
Any other questions? I'm sorry for the sharing. I did have a link to show what my proposed. Let me try this really quick and let me know if it doesn't work. But this is the bylaws. Do you see what I'm sharing?
No.
No? Do you guys see anything? Can I have some feedback?
No, we can't. I mean, you're saying thank you in your last slide. That's all we see.
So Nabil, I'd like to share that the last time that Lori sent ahead, and she sent ahead the Exhibit A with the blue and red changes to us. And she had sent ahead all of that if you go through printing out. So she had the ordinance, and she did a great job of doing N2992, 2017, and 021. I think, though, we have a lot of new commissioners that it was very, very difficult to sort through the information. So I do think you clarified it. And the best part is we have an option to change our bylaws. Is that what I understand you saying?
That's what we see. Is that your motion? You don't have the bylaws on any of your windows.
So yeah, what we'll have, what's next is really to share with you officially in the bylaws, there's a 7-day notice of the proposed changes. So we will be sending you an official letter telling you that these are our proposed changes of the bylaws. And when that happens, we'll take them to a vote in October, and then at a later time, we'll take it to the city council for affirmation. Any other questions?
This is Commissioner Wood. I was going to bring this up in commissioner comments, but it makes sense to ask it now. One of the things I've been looking for several months was a presentation on how graffiti is handled by Santa Ana. And I know we've talked about that in emails. Because we are advisory to City Council, my next quarterly meeting with my Councilwoman Fan is tomorrow night. And she's going to be asking me for an update on the presentation and what the ideas are on how we're dealing with graffiti in Santa Ana. So I just want to make sure that when you do a presentation next month, that we do have the opportunity to not only advise, but to offer input. Because if you look at the Etac Duties that you just laid out in Santa Ana Municipal Code 255, Section 5 does give us the opportunity to advise on right-of-way aesthetics. And I'm going to assume that's going to fall in there.
So if I may, Commissioner, if I may, Nabil, so
Sure.
Graffiti is an operation just like maintenance of water and sewer. So the bylaws mention streetscape, and that's medians, things of that design. So that's where the committee has advisory capacity. Graffiti is an operation, like I mentioned, similar to mowing grass, things of that nature. So it kind of falls in between, but we definitely take input from you, advisory input. We will be presenting a presentation to you next month on that. And we did get all your bullet points of questions, and we can put a check mark to many of your comments and questions there. So we'll be presenting that to you next month. But we welcome input. We're one of 3 bodies within the city. We are the removal body. There's the property maintenance body, and there's the enforcement body. So that's police department, code enforcement, and then public works. We do the removal. That's all we do. So that's all we're supposed to do, but we do a little bit over and above that, and I'll be glad to provide that information to you next month.
Okay, thank you.
This is Commissioner Bailon. Just to clarify then, are you saying that graffiti then doesn't come under the Etac umbrella? And my second question, with changing the committee to a commission and our new advisory capacity to the city council, I don't think we've addressed still that mechanism and how does that look in our meeting? And we'll take the graffiti example. If that comes under our umbrella, Commissioner Wood brings that request. We then get a presentation, and then we advise, and then what happens?
So,
and if it's not under our umbrella, should be, and I guess my third question, if it doesn't fall under our umbrella, it sounds like you'll still provide a presentation, but it really won't go anywhere, if you will, because we don't really have, I hear you say advisory, we still, you will still take our input, and that's great. But if it doesn't fall under our purview, I personally feel then maybe we shouldn't spend time on it. Let's spend time on what true streetscape is. So I'm sorry, that was 3 questions. I just want clarification.
So on the question of oversight, right? What jurisdiction? So you're correct. It's advisory. So we can take your input. If it's something we could do, we would obviously evaluate that and put it into practice. Not just graffiti on anything else, but historically, graffiti has been the jurisdiction of the City Council's Public Safety Committee, which I presented to many times. So that's the body we respond to. So we would present to you just like a planning may come to you, planning division may come to you on a project that because of its scope is so large may impact an area. So they come and present to you. In your advisory capacity, you could provide comments and make requests. And if it's possible, then planning can make those modifications or requests on the developer. But ultimately, that belongs to the Planning Commission to approve the project, right? So you still have an opportunity to provide input. And typically, if it's within our realm of opportunity to put into a project or to request a change, in this example, a development project, say a high rise or something like that, then we put that, or the planning department, whoever the staff is, they will provide comments to the developer to take into account, make modifications. So we've, as many of you may or may not have been around, but Planning Commission has presented projects to this body many times. many times. I don't think we've had any major ones in the last couple of years, but the input that the body presented was taken into account, and then planning processed that, then ultimately the planning commission reviewed it, just like you reviewed trees or other projects. But so we would take your advisory comments obviously into account, respectfully. Obviously, we would, if it's something we can implement, we would do it. Funding things, adding more staff, for example, on graffiti is a funding thing, right? So that has to go through the budget process, which we always request, just so you know. But if needed, but hopefully that answered your questions.
I can add that to that. There's few ways that you can advise. You can communicate directly to the council member that made the appointment to you. I know that Commissioner Woods meet with Council Member Fan and provide her with updates. I think the council member that has appointed you, you can brief them on what Etac is tackling and dealing with. So that's one way for you to make that advisement. We can assist you in preparation of reports to the city council through the city manager's office. So if there is any information that you wanted to share with the city council, we can assist you in preparing a report through the city manager to the city council for advisement. We can collaborate with you on other policy decision making, and we work with you on developing policies and provide general feedback between both of us as an advisory to the city council. So there is dialogue, and I'm hoping that we can accomplish quite a bit by having a dialogue between you and us, and you can ask for us to bring in issues and talk about issues that relates to public works and what we do. Graffiti is kind of a touchy, not a touchy, but it's like Pedro mentioned, it's 3 different divisions that deal with graffiti. So it's not 100% public works. There is enforcement, and there is code enforcement that deals with graffiti, which is it makes it a little bit unique. But anything else, we want to listen. We want your feedback. We want to work with you on developing policies for the better of the residents. So.
This is Chair McLaughlin. I'd like to make note that there is no longer a safety committee. Pedro mentioned that graffiti was reported and updated to the safety committee, but there is no longer a safety committee. So that was in historical information.
Okay. Any other questions on the bylaws? Okay, with that, we can move to staff comments. Actually, let's do commissioners' comments, and I'd like to call on you for any comments that you may have. Commissioner McLaughlin.
So these are our closing comments that we generally do of each commissioner that recap something they'd like to see. My recommendation, because I went through all the notes of what we would like to see in the future meetings, some way they've kind of fallen through the cracks. I think Commissioner Wood can be commended because he put it in writing, and I think that's a very wise thing going forward, that a note to be covered. Because like in the Boar Beetle, Commissioner Germain asked that the last meeting, but it wasn't addressed. And so maybe we put it in writing in the future. So that is my recommendation, and congratulations to our new chair and vice chair. And let's move on to our new chair. Would you like to make any comments, Nancy?
Thank you for voting me as your new chair. I'm looking forward to being in this role and working with Nabil. And thank you for the presentations as well. I am, again, looking forward to seeing what we can accomplish.
So thank you very much, Vice Chair Germain. Future Vice Chair Germain, would you like to make any comments this evening?
Yes. First, I'd like to send a thank you for nomination as for chair, and then also for nomination for vice chair, which was the elected position. So I appreciate the nomination and support for that as well. So thank you, Commissioner Wood. Also, I wanted to ask as far as or make a comment as far as the presentation had went earlier. We were talking about the Boar Beetle, and we were talking about the investigation of while we're out there. And I just wanted to know in depth did we maximize our investigation? Did we, or do we just do a visual? And in the visual, what did we look for? And also, was there any trapping type monitoring or anything of that nature for this beetle? So I know it's been a month in between, so maybe it's a seasonal thing, but just want to know what kind of monitoring we do so I can express that the city is doing their part.
Great, thank you.
This is Commissioner McLaughlin. I do think that section 3 is such a good detailed section there on page 7 in your brochure of the management and strategy for pest control. So it does define that very closely, and I'm sure Pedro can answer any questions through email. He's excellent at answering specific questions such as that for the future. So moving on, Commissioner Navarro, do you have anything to say this evening?
Excuse me, Chair McLaughlin?
Yes.
What document were you referencing for the management and strategy of pest control?
Urban Forest Management Plan, September 2021.
Thank you.
Which went into section 3 on page 7, that went extensively into pest management and the strategy of pest management, which the Boar Beetle comes under and could be studied. And as I said, Pedro is excellent at returning emails in specific questions such as Commissioner Germain asked. Okay. Any other questions, Commissioner Germain? I didn't mean to move on.
Well, a comment. Congratulations to Commissioner Sandoval and best to you. So thank you for taking on the task. It's one of those congratulations and condolences, right? So.
I do say you have a great team in public works, so there's no condolences to be had from my perspective.
But thank you. Thank you. That's all for tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Navarro.
Okay. Commissioner Navarro, do you have any comments this evening? Okay, Commissioner Benninger has left our meeting already. Commissioner Romero, do you have any comments this evening?
Congratulations to the new chair and vice chair. And thank you also for the nomination earlier. And I did have a question about agenda items that commissioners suggest. Is there a wait list for these suggestions? How does it get on the agenda normally?
Not as specific. You can email us, and of course you could always have a conversation with the chair and the vice chair on agenda items, and let me know, and we can definitely agendize any item that you would like to discuss or get an update on.
Traditionally, at the
Okay, 'cause
end
I know in
of the,
past meetings-
Excuse me?
Hi, Commissioner Romero. I know that in past meetings, we have given comments and then again speak and give suggestions. So I was curious if the suggestions that are brought up in this meeting are added, or do we need to individually reach out to the chair, vice chair, and to Public Works before they're added to the agenda?
You can do it in either way. You can reach out to the chair to agendize any item, and reach out to me and Lori to agendize items. And we typically meet with the chair briefly to decide what agenda items to be discussed or to be agendized prior to the meeting. And when you share those with us, we will sure to agendize them for you.
this is Chair McLaughlin,
Okay,
and I'd
just
like to
wanted
address this
that clarification.
to
Sorry,
William.
I have a few more comments.
Okay, I just want to answer this one. And William in the past has had it added to the agenda. So at the bottom of the agenda, it would have all future comments that were made by commissioners at meetings that go back 6 months, that go back 3 months, and everything else. And it would be printed at the bottom of the agenda, which works so well because then everybody had equal and same information. And that's the way that the policy and procedure was set up by William. And it worked very well, Dorian. And hopefully, perhaps they would consider doing that again so that everybody's on board and nothing falls through the cracks. Sorry, your further comments?
I was just saying thank you for the clarification, Nabil, because if we give suggestions during this meeting, it does seem like they fall under the cracks. So I did wonder if there was a wait list for agenda items. So I guess in the future, I'll individually reach out.
Sure. If you think that we've lost some notes from you or some directives, email me and we'll sure to agendize these things in the next meeting. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent, thank you. Commissioner Wood.
Thank you. First off, thank you to the staff for the presentations tonight. I know it's been a long meeting. I do look forward to the input and the presentation on graffiti at our next meeting. And I do realize from having researched it that a lot of it does fall under municipal codes and code enforcement, which is outside of Public Works. But those are things that each of us can take to our respective council people with ideas and other avenues. And then lastly, I would like to congratulate our new chairwoman, Bailon, and Vice Chair Germain, and also just take a moment to thank Chairwoman McLaughlin for all of your efforts in the past. It's always been a pleasure working with you, and we look forward to continuing that as commissioners. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Lori, I finished everybody. Everybody got to say everything they want. I see a hand up for Commissioner Germain again. No? Well.
Okay, we'll go to staff comments. William? Nothing? Pedro, anything else? No, nothing. So it's my turn, I think. We'll just like to thank Chair McLaughlin for the many years in the leadership, and we really appreciate your involvement and happy to see you continue with us in Etac. And I would like to also welcome Nancy Sandoval and also Brian Germain to be on the chair and the vice chair. I am personally looking forward to working with both of you on the betterment of the city and Public Works, and look forward for your feedback, your comments, your suggestion, and anything you have to make this agency and the city a better city for all of us. And that concludes my comments. Thank you very much.
So I close this meeting at 6:01, and thank you all for staying so late. I know everyone's anxious, and we appreciate your time and your volunteering commitment always. And good night.
Thank you.
And look how big Gracie's gotten. She walks at 5:30, so it's a real tough, she joins us then. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Nabil. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, and good night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Good night. Go ahead and click on end Zoom first.